Come on in, you guys. We've got a brand new episode of Jimmy Rants in store for you here today. JimmyRants.com is the website. If you want to engage live in the content, you got to go follow me over on Instagram. I am at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, you can engage live in the content, just like Liv and Bev, Bevy Girl, and lots of others coming in right now. If you missed the live, you can watch it on the replay for up to 24 hours over on Instagram. We also simulcast over on my Facebook page, so welcome to my Facebookers as well. But you can also access it in archived form over at JimmyRants.com or on YouTube. Just type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. And speaking of YouTube, if you are watching this on YouTube on the replay, thank you for being here. Pop over to the Keto Connect people. Matt and Mega run that website, or run that page that has the videos. They have been doing a series of interviews lately on their YouTube channel while we're all quarantined because of COVID-19. And at 1 p.m. Eastern Time today, Wednesday, what is the 22nd of April, I will be their live guest on their show today. They've got over 750,000 followers there on YouTube. So real excited to talk to their audience. And if you missed it live, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, you can watch it on the replay on their channel. Again, Keto Connect. Go look them up. But today we're back with another episode of Jimmy Rants. Got a really great topic for you today that I think is going to be very interesting, because one of the things I've been talking about regarding COVID-19 and the coronavirus and the quarantine and all that's going on is not so much the virus itself. Obviously, there's a lot of attention being paid to that, and when we're going to get a vaccine and all this kind of stuff and all the noise that's around this topic. One of the things that I don't think we're talking enough about is the mental health effects that all this is putting on so many people. And let's be honest, before COVID-19, people's mental health was not generally in a very good state as it is. And so when you add a new stressor that has uncertainty, that has an unexpectedness about it, this just got thrust on a lot of people. Obviously by now, hopefully they're dealing with it better. But when it was thrust on us suddenly, that caused anxiety. The continued uncertainty about when we're going to get back to some semblance of normality, that creates anxiety. So people are incredibly anxious over what's going on right now. And as a result, the big pharmaceutical companies are loving the coronavirus because they're now seeing, I have a news story here, an increase in sales of their most popular anti-anxiety medication prescriptions, to the tune of a spike of 34% in just like the last month or so. That's huge, you guys. And so what I'm going to talk about here today is mental health medications are spiking the sales, but it really doesn't have to be that way, because you don't have a drug deficiency. You have other things going on that maybe, who knew, nutrition and stress relieving activities could help with. So we're going to get into that here in just a second. First, I want to read this news story. This is out of marketwatch.com. Anti-anxiety medication prescriptions have spiked 34% since the coronavirus pandemic began. Americans are filling more prescriptions for antidepressants and anti-insomnia drugs. So people's brains are going crazy. They're not able to sleep well, and so they think they need all these medications in order to get right again. I'm going to share in a minute why I don't think we have a medication deficiency, but we have other things going on. And it has to do with the typical diet of the average American that's not conducive for good mental health, not conducive for getting good sleep. So we'll get to that in just a second, but let's read the story. The coronavirus is taking a toll on our collective mental health. The number of prescriptions for antidepressant, anti-anxiety, and anti-insomnia medications filled per week increased by 21% between February 16th and March 15th, according to a new report by Express Scripts, a Cigna-owned pharmacy benefit manager. The study analyzed prescription claims between January 19th and March the 15th of this year among a sample of 31.5 million commercially insured individuals. They found that claims peaked during the week ending March the 15th, which was right around the time they put us into lockdown. That is also the same week that COVID-19 was declared a pandemic. Anti-anxiety drugs saw the biggest spike. They jumped 34.1%, which was more than double the number of insomnia aids, 14.8%, and almost twice as high as antidepressants, 18.6%. Express Scripts noted that this is a sharp U-turn from a 12.1% decline in the use of anti-anxiety meds such as Pfizer's Xanax and Roche's Valium that it recorded between 2015 and 2019, as well as the 11.3% decline in the use of anti-insomnia meds during that same window. So get this, people were getting off of medications, they were getting less anxious, they were sleeping better where they didn't need these pharmaceutical aids to help them, and then this one event suddenly triggered all of this where it reversed it. So think about it, it had declined by 12% and it jumped by 34%. So we're actually looking at an almost half, like 50% increase in the use of these drugs. Guys, this is startling to me. But I'll also explain in a minute why it's not so startling. This analysis showing that many Americans are turning to medications for relief demonstrates the serious impact COVID-19 may be having on our nation's mental health, according to a report. It's the latest in a series of recent warnings about the implications of COVID-19 on our collective psychological health. They note that 4 in 10 Americans are feeling lonelier now than ever before as a result of social distancing because of the coronavirus. This was according to a survey of 1,055 people commissioned by the University of Phoenix last week. More than 1 in 5 people, 22%, say their sleep quality has suffered. Recent findings from the Axios Coronavirus Index also revealed 35% of Americans say their mental health had gotten worse during the pandemic. 43% said their emotional well-being had also gotten worse. That's not surprising considering more than 20 million Americans are currently out of work as non-essential businesses have temporarily closed. COVID-19 cases are more than 2 million worldwide, more than 137,000 deaths, and 525,000 people recovered. America was already in the grip of a loneliness epidemic before this happened and a mental health crisis. Almost 1 in 5 report experiencing a mental health condition. As of 2018, the teen suicide rate also climbed by more than 50% over the past decade. Mental health conditions cost the healthcare system more than $200 billion a year, making it one of the country's most expensive health conditions to treat. They also lead to more than $193 billion in lost income. So, seems grim, seems gloom and doom, seems like everybody is losing their mind, literally. So I want to put a different perspective on this. We need to be asking the question, why are so many people struggling mentally? Why are people struggling with sleep? And again, all of this was happening long before COVID-19 came around. All this was an acute stressor that triggered a lot more people to then fall into this trap. I have a feeling that our crappy diet has a huge impact on this. I can tell you one of the first things that happened when I went keto, to a lesser degree when I was low carb doing the Atkins diet, but when I did keto in 2012, did an N=1 experiment looking into this, one of the first things I noticed, besides the absence of hunger and suddenly not being hungry and going many, many hours spontaneously without eating, one of the biggest impacts was my mental health changes. Now, in my past, I have had some anger issues. I've had some mood that went up and down. Those are all things that come from eating crappy garbage. But when I cleaned all that up and really focused in on trying to keep blood sugar down, insulin levels down, inflammation levels down, creating ketones as an alternative fuel source, and I've talked about this before, your brain is made up of 70% fat. And so if you're not eating enough fat, that's also going to impact your brain health. By the way, one thing they didn't put in this story about all these people getting on anti-anxiety medications, that's not the only thing people are using to medicate themselves in the midst of this COVID-19 quarantine. Have you seen junk food sales? Like, junk food sales are through the roof. Like, people are buying junk like it's going out of style. And what was interesting was junk food was on the outskirts. People were rejecting it. They were listening to a lot of the messages of the keto and paleo and real food movement, and they were rejecting it. Well, now they're using it to comfort themselves. And so junk food is also being used to self-medicate with some of these anxiety things, some of these needs for comfort. And so between the medications increasing, between the crappy garbage people are eating again, we need to be asking serious questions of ourselves and of the people around us. Do we have a mental health crisis as a result of this COVID-19, or do we have an exposure of something that was already there, and that is we have an inferior diet that's causing us to have the mental health problems? Back to keto. When I started testing keto, I noticed very clearly my brain just went, Have you guys noticed that? Those of you that eat keto, if you eat carnivore, if you reduce your carbohydrates in some way, eat real food, have you noticed since you've gone keto, you stay pretty chill, you don't really have ups and downs, your brain health is really good overall, you have good mental capacity, you remember things pretty well. To me, this is the unspokenness about mental health right now. So many people want to say, oh, well, we have genetic disorders that causes people to have that. And don't get me wrong, there is genetics involved with things like bipolar if it runs in your family and other things like that. But I wonder out loud here, what I want to bring here on Jimmy Rants today, how much of this stuff we think is genetic, we think is just a product of our society, maybe chemicals that we use in our household items, how much of that stuff we believe is those things is actually just a nutrition problem. Like, think about how many people just inherently, when they want to lose weight, for example, they just cut their fat and calories. Well, when you cut fats and calories, your body, your brain has to react because your brain needs that fat. This is why when people start eating carnivore, keto, paleo, real food, and include real healthy fats in that, they see a calming mood come over them. They feel better in their brain. They think more clearly. They have a more positive outlook on their life. And I wonder if another one of these unintended consequences of this COVID-19 pandemic is we're exposing this problem that's been there all along, and people have just not really paid much attention. Are you paying attention now? Because it seems to me this is a telltale sign that the way we've been doing things, trying to help people with mental health issues, has been all wrong. Ironically, by the way, on my Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show podcast today, I have a psychiatrist who specializes in mental health disorders and its relationship to your metabolism. He believes a ketogenic diet can help with a lot of the mental health issues people deal with. His name, Dr. Chris Palmer. So go listen to today's episode of the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show. I interviewed him right about a month ago, right before all this COVID-19 stuff came out, all about childhood trauma and how your brain reacts and your body reacts to childhood trauma metabolically. But man, so many kind of nuggets in there. Go to llvlc.com to listen to him talk about this. But what do you think about this idea that the mental health issues people are experiencing right now because of the stress of COVID-19, causing them to turn to prescription medications to sleep, and antidepressants, anti-anxiety? Is it really just a nutritional deficiency? Like, I think about all those people, just unbeknownst to them, when they're doing this are just robbing their bodies of something that would calm them down in the midst of the chaos in their brain. And that's dietary fat. How many just cut dietary fat like it's nobody's business, and then they replace it with a bunch of carbohydrate? So not only do you get the lack of the fat that would calm your brain, you get this direct impact of mostly refined carbohydrates, especially all those people eating the junk food right now. And people say, well, there's fat in the junk food too. Guess what's the fat in a lot of the junk food? It's not saturated fat. It's not real whole food-based fats. It's usually the crappiest of oils that there is, the vegetable oils, the seed oils, cottonseed oil, soybean oil, really bad fats. So you mix really bad carbohydrates, the refined sugars and grains and starches, really bad refined oils and fats, and you smush them together and they get that mouth feel that they're looking for, the excitability in your brain. You get this huge boost in like happy hormones quickly, but then you suddenly get the after effects of it with the blood sugar roller coaster, and in the end it's no bueno. Whereas if you ate a low carb diet and kept those carbohydrates to only like natural sources of carbs, mostly from vegetables, maybe a little bit of avocado, maybe some berries and things like that, maybe some nuts and seeds, and then mostly ate protein and fat in their natural state, which with meat, you're going to get like a ribeye steak, for example, or sirloin steak, or just something that would have fat and protein in it together. Eating those things are going to fuel your brain with the fat it needs, and you're going to stay chill. Like those of you that have succumbed to the junk food trend during this COVID-19, are you noticing you're a little more moody? Are you noticing you're not maybe sleeping as well? Are you noticing you're feeling a little bit bad about yourself because you're feeling guilty because, oh my gosh, I'm eating stuff I know I shouldn't be having, but I need it right now because I need comfort? Are you noticing that maybe you're a little more on edge because of those food choices? Juxtapose that to those of you that are staying pretty darn keto or carnivore, paleo, real food at this time. Are you noticing your mood is a lot more chill? I have remained, for the most part, extremely carnivore, definitely keto for most of this time. I've allowed a couple of treats in every once in a while, but it's definitely not daily and not even once a week. Just rare occasion I'll add something in that I go, okay, let's just do that to see how I feel. But for the most part, I've stayed pretty keto and carnivore, and it's made all the difference for me. Like I've had my moments where I have felt lonely. I've had my moments where I've been missing people, missing affection, and having a good, kind of self-pity party. We've all done that a little bit. But at the end of the day, you kind of go, okay, overall, I'm doing good. And I hope those of you that are embracing the healthy fats and eschewing the carbohydrates and trying to be good in the midst of this, I hope you're noticing that too. And definitely leave your comments if you are sticking to this. How are you feeling? Are you feeling like it's helping you to stick to keto, carnivore, paleo, whatever your chosen food plan is? And then those of you that maybe have had some carbs, refined carbohydrates, the junk food, how are you feeling? Are you noticing that they're maybe not helping you as much as you thought? Maybe in the immediacy they do, but over the long term, you're feeling like, oh crap, what in the world have I done to myself choosing to eat these things at this time? So I really am worried, you guys, that when all this is over, and I've been expressing this opinion quite a bit on Jimmy Rants, when all this is over, what's going to be the lasting effects? Are those people that started those 34% more prescriptions, are people going to stay on those indefinitely? Like, that's the problem I have with anti-anxieties, anti-insomnia, antidepressants. When do you get off of them? For a lot of people, they get on them and they never get off of them. And part of the issue is they come to rely on a medication to heal them, when all along there are things you can do in your diet and things you can do in your lifestyle to help you chill. And of course, people don't think about diet. Maybe they think about lifestyle and chilling out and trying to de-stress, but people say, well, I'd rather take a Valium and than to have to worry about trying to de-stress my body. And I'm going, there's other ways to de-stress your body than taking a pill. And those things don't come without a consequence to your health as well. And so I'm truly concerned that if this COVID-19 pandemic is exposing something, it's exposing we don't know how to handle life when it goes sideways. And I'm not saying everybody is that way. A lot of us are pretty chill right now. But I think those of us that are chill, we're chill because we've learned to deal with life circumstances. We eat in such a way that we don't let our brains go out of control. And we come up with strategies like meditation and exercise and other things to chill out when life gets a little wonky. You guys noticing that at all in your own self, in other people? Who are the people in your life that you're looking at right now that you got, man, I wish I had whatever they have, because they seem always so chill on the outside despite everything going chaotic all around us. They seem so chill. And for a lot of people, they are. Anyway, let's see what you guys have to say. I want to see if you're experiencing the same thing that I'm talking about here, and what do you think about people using anxiety medications, insomnia medications, antidepressants to help. We're going to go to Instagram Live first. We'll come over here to you guys here on Facebook here in just a moment, but welcome in, welcome in. JimmyRants.com is the website if you want to engage in the past episodes that we've done here. Pink Puggy Pundit. It's always fun to try to say your name real fast because I can't. Many people I know are taking anxiety medications, yes, even more so now than ever before. We can use cannabis in my state, and it has helped some of my friends. And she says something about suicide, I think, is on the rise. So, yeah, I think those of you that live in a state where cannabis, but even to a lesser degree than cannabis, like CBD products, CBD oil. I use CBD oil pretty regularly, and it is a known chiller outer of the brainer, for lack of a better term. So if you have access to CBD oil, try to get the full spectrum version, because it's got a little more potency to it for anxiety. The broad spectrum will work too, but it's a little weaker. Try the full spectrum CBD oil and get it from a reputable company. There's so many companies out there selling CBD. I don't want to say a name because there's a million of them out there. I am working on a sponsor right now who has CBD products. So if I can test their product and see that I like it, I will share it with you guys so you can see a name brand of a company that I use. Lulu says, because now you are stuck in front of the TV with nonstop numbers, the media won't stop plugging the death numbers. Well, I've talked about that before. If you're one of those people who is emotionally reacting to every little tidbit of what's happening with the coverage of COVID-19, turn off the television. Turn off the news media. You can watch Netflix and get your fix of tigers and babies and whatever, aliens, zombies, whatever you want to watch. Just stop watching the news coverage 24/7. I mean, we were never intended to be bombarded by constant statistics. Now, keep in mind what the news media is doing as well. And whether you believe it or not, this is what they're doing. They are purposely keeping you in a state of fear. And when you're fearful, that's eyeballs. They know you're going to keep coming back to them, and then they're going to give you more fear, and you're going to be more scared, and you keep coming back. And it's just this endless cycle. It's why in the midst of all of this coronavirus nonsense that's out there, I have stayed a healthy distance away from it. Plays a huge role. So maybe a lot of this spike, that 34% spike that we're seeing in the medications, has more to do with people who have not set up good boundaries with the news coverage. So that's one of you guys watching this right now. Maybe you're feeling like you have to stay informed. I've done some Jimmy Rants about this before. You can stay informed without getting overwhelmed with the endless 24-hour cycle of this. Don't get caught up in that, or you will go crazy. Even the best person would go crazy, constantly hearing about every little rumor of this and that and deaths and numbers, statistics all around the world, blah, 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 blah. And it just gets overwhelming. So that is playing into this. So thank you, Lulu, for mentioning that. That's a big reason. And people are getting fearful. And again, the news media by design is making you scared. Kat says February and March are most depressing months by statistics anyway. That was a perfect soil for an increase. So yeah, usually it's when it's in the darkest of the winter months. So February and March, towards the end of winter. And so you're right, Kat. A lot of people already have that, seasonal winter blues that happens. And so then on top of that, getting the news of COVID-19 certainly didn't help. It would be interesting, had this happened in July, August, would we be seeing some of these mental health issues? I don't know. It's food for thought, but Beth says, I'm a proponent of using marijuana. Within minutes, it calms my mind, stress, and allows me to think more clearly without ruminating about all the troubles. Helps me sleep as well as my lung function. Yeah, I think if it gives you benefit, then go for it. Like, I don't think we need to see that as so taboo anymore. When I was growing up, they always made fun of it. Remember the old Cheech and Chong sketches? Yeah, man, this is good stuff, And of course, it was always kind of a joke that way. But I can see where there could be benefits to that in the right circumstance for people that have anxiety. Certainly less harmfulness to that than some of these drugs that we mentioned people are turning to and popping like Tic Tacs right now. Seasonal affective disorder was already in effect. Yep, we talked about that. People are mixing alcohol and drugs. If you listen to a police scanner, drug overdose and violent crime rates are on the rise. Very depressing. Well, that's too bad. If people are using multiple ways to comfort themselves, vis-a-vis alcohol and drugs, or the people that are turning to junk food, that's the sad part of this. And I'll go back to what I talked about the other day with all the dietitians pushing people to eat junk food to comfort themselves. We have to figure out how in the world we comfort ourselves, calm ourselves, and allow our bodies to relax in the midst of craziness all around us. We need to deal and develop strategies that's going to help us deal better. Like, we've never had stress happen in our lives before. Did it take COVID-19 to suddenly make us realize, oh my gosh, I don't have a plan of action other than numb my worries with alcohol or drugs or food? Like, I think this is a skill that needs to be learned by our culture, because every time we run into some adversity, and we all have adversity in our lives, right now we just happen to all have the same adversity, but everybody deals with varying levels of adversity all the time. Coping skills are critical here. But who teaches us that? Where do you learn coping skills? Well, those of us in the health community, those of us that are health leaders, we try to help you with stress, dealing with stress, and being calm and trying to do all the things. But unless the individual takes it to heart and applies those things, there's really not much that can be done. On an individual level, you can do something, but collectively, what do you do when you have people that would just rather pop a pill or rather eat the crappy garbage because I feel better temporarily? It is definitely a problem. I suffer from anxiety also due to my childhood trauma. Definitely have been more even since 10 months of keto, and that's great. And that's typical. I've heard a lot of people say keto chilled them down a whole lot, so that's good. The keto artist said keto allowed me to get off all of my depression and anxiety meds. I do have a genetic mutation and still have had great success with keto, a very specific fat ratio to boost brain health. Yeah, so a lot of the people who even have genetic issues with mental health issues in their past, in their family history, they're seeing an epigenetic response to keto. So epigenetics, for those of you that don't know, is where you can change the gene expression. In other words, you have the gene that, for example, makes you susceptible to mental health issues. But if you eat in such a way or have lifestyle changes in such a way, you can shift that genetic expression to not express in the negative way, but instead in a positive way. So sounds to me like that's exactly what you've got going on here, the keto artist. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. Since childhood trauma, I love to be alone, always have. Now I'm stuck in a house with people getting on my nerves because they create more chaos just being in my private private house in Idaho for days on end. Yeah, you're not alone. I mean, I'm alone here in my house here, and some days I wish I had companionship and had people to talk to and hug and all that. But some days I go, you know what? It's kind of peace and quiet here. So I could see it both ways. But being a social person, I would much rather have some people here with me than being alone. Deborah says, as always, a great show. Must finish later. Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate you watching. Mama Ors, I feel hungrier. I'm staying on track, though. Yeah, a lot of people are hungrier, and that is a stress response, by the way. If you're feeling hungrier, it means cortisol has gone up. And when cortisol goes up, blood sugar goes up. And when blood sugar goes up, insulin goes up to bring the blood sugar back down again. But then that also stokes hunger hormones. So it's not surprising you might be hungrier. Also beware that maybe you're not physiologically hungrier, but maybe your head is telling you, ooh, I need to eat because of boredom and other things. Now, if you physically have hunger, I know that's possible as well too. But some people feel like they're hungrier because they're sitting around and I got nothing better to do, let me eat, even though physiologically you're not really hungry. Nancy says, I agree that diet is a factor, but we also need to consciously make sure we include de-stressing techniques in our life as well. Exactly. I've been saying that exact thing, Nancy, so thank you for underscoring that. I have remained completely keto and strict about it, but I keep feeling like I would like a pizza as a person who is past emotional eating, no garbage in my house, but have been going to bed earlier just so I could get away. You're not alone, by the way. I can tell you, and I'll be honest with you, I've had moments where I want to order a pizza. I want to get some kind of a junk food. I think that's natural right now. Let's not act like that's not happening to a lot of us. And if we're all being honest with ourselves, we're having those thoughts. Even the best person out there who's handling this better than anybody else, you're having those thoughts of, oh crap, I would love to have some junk food right now. Don't beat yourself up about that, by the way. And if you happen to give in to that, don't beat yourself up about that either. Just get right back on plan again. But know that you're doing that at a conscious level. Know why you're doing it. And if you still make the choice to do it, nobody's going to judge you for doing that. But yeah, don't beat yourself up, Lulu, just because you're having those thoughts. You are not alone. Kat says, despite being in deep ketosis for the past decade and being sugar and grain free for 2 decades, February and March has hit me every single year. Vitamin D deficiency is ruled out, but every year I get very low mood coming on me. By the way, thank you for mentioning, Kat, the vitamin D deficiency. That is another thing that could be stoking some of these brain health issues. If you have a vitamin D level under like 40 or 30, you're going to have mental health issues. And I know we have a vitamin D deficiency epidemic right now going on. And I saw a study earlier today. I may do a whole Jimmy Rants about it, but there was a study. In fact, I pulled it up on my phone. A study out there that I saw that is tying vitamin D, having proper levels of vitamin D and suppressing the cytokine storm in COVID-19 patients and the associated mortality. So yeah, there it is on my iPhone. I might do a Jimmy Rant. It's a 20-page paper, so I'm not sure if I'm going to go through all 20 pages, but there is a connection to a low level of vitamin D in the blood, and then having the inflammation cascade come on when you get COVID-19. But I do think it's also playing a role in this mental health issue that I'm talking about here today on Jimmy Rants, getting adequate vitamin D. So I'm glad for you that's not the issue, Kat. But for a lot of people going on these medications, if they just test their D and it's under 50, I would say probably most people it is under 50. So get out in the sunlight. If you're staying in your house, don't do that. Get out in the sunlight. Get that sun at various times of the day, preferably 4 different times of the day to get sunlight. It also helps you with the sleep, so you won't need the anti-insomnia medication. And if you have to, take a vitamin D supplement. Now, since all this went down with COVID-19 and we got holed up in our houses, I have been deliberate in taking vitamin D3 gel cap supplementation. So, and I've jumped it really high, like 25 to 30,000 a day. I backed off recently, but when it first hit, for like the first few weeks, I was taking a whole lot of vitamin D. And I know that it's helping my immune system and my mental health. So if you know you're deficient in vitamin D, that's definitely a good strategy to go with. But I'm sorry you're dealing with February and March being rough, Kat. At least now it's April, so you're able to be on the other side of that. Nancy says, I'm doing fine mentally right now, but I'm an introvert. I also reincorporated EFT tapping into my daily routine, and that helps. So yes, if you're not tapping, you could definitely just tap. It's amazing just doing just the little tapping exercises, and people are like, what in the world is that doing? Oh, it's magical, guys. Like I remember on the low carb cruise a few years ago, we had a lady come on the cruise and she was a huge fan of tapping. So she'd be going around like tapping people on the face and the head. And what in the world are you doing? Oh, it's tapping, it's the best thing ever. I'm like, yeah, I don't get that. But then I started doing it and I'm like, okay, I get that. It's pretty cool. So it's pretty simple. Just Google tapping, Tapping, and you'll see what we're talking about. In fact, just doing that little bit of tapping, I now am even more calm and more chill, which I stay pretty chill all the time anyway, but it's amazing how good that works. So thank you, Nancy, for reminding me of that. Nancy also wonders how mental health now is different for people living alone versus people who have other people in their household. Well, that survey in there said 40% of the people are lonely right now. A lot of those people have people in their houses. I know I did a statistic a couple weeks ago, about 25% of the U.S. population is living all by themselves. I am one of those people right now, living alone. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the personality of the person that is living by themselves. I am an extrovert. I like people. I'm very social. Now, obviously, I get a little bit of this when I come on Jimmy Rants. I can talk to you guys. And I get a little bit when I do video chats with friends and going on the phone with friends. So it's not like I get no social interaction, but physically seeing people, that's at a bare minimum right now. And that can be taxing on people like me. Whereas if you're an introvert, you're loving it right now, probably being by yourself. It's all systems normal probably for you. Mama Orr says, yes, I think it's in my head telling me that I'm hungry. Yeah, a lot of times when you feel like you're hungry and you have a hungrier feeling, it's just boredom. You just, yeah, you're not alone, by the way. Kat says, yeah, the depression passed, but then I went on lockdown and it came back. Well, hopefully we're keeping you company here on Jimmy Rants at least once a day, Kat, so that you're not quite so depressed all the time. So thank you, Instagram Live. Let me pop over here to my friends on Facebook. What's up, guys? Thank you guys for being here today on Jimmy Rants. What's up, Abel James? I see, Abel, you came on my Instagram yesterday. You posted my video that I did yesterday on your YouTube channel. So thank you for that, by the way, for kind of giving me a plug. And now you're here on my Facebook page. Dude is stalking me, so I see you out there. Just kidding, buddy. Sorry I'm late to the party, says Emily. Well, welcome. And if at any time you ever miss an episode here on Facebook, it stays on Facebook. So you can just scroll back when it's over and it'll let you see it from the beginning. You can also go to jimmyrants.com or YouTube, type in keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. Emily says CBD oil is an amazing product. Young Living has some wonderful products as well. So yeah, Young Living is the essential oil Does Young Living have a CBD oil? I know they do essential oils, and essential oils are wonderful. I'm not married to any brand. I know Young Living is a quality brand, but really, I have found CBD oil and essential oils to both be helpful with mood issues. I have had too many days that I've given in trying to get back on track. Yeah, if you give in and then you let that give in stoke another give in, and then you let that give in stoke another give in, then it becomes a problem. If you know thyself well enough that you can have a moment, you have your moment, and then you're right back on plan again, and you can stay on plan because you had that moment, it was done in the past, move on, then okay. But you're right, once you give in, the propensity, well, I already gave in one time, let me go in, and it just gets worse and worse, and it is hard to get back on track. If I can help you, please let me know. Amy says, I almost missed you. You never miss me. You can watch it on replay, Amy. Abel says, we need you now more than ever before. Well, I'm not going anywhere, Abel. I feel more impassioned right now to be a calming, encouraging voice, probably than I ever have in 15 years online. Like, I've always felt a purpose in life. And on social media today, I shared Dr. Ryan Lowry, my friend Ryan. He puts out a question that's thought-provoking on Instagram pretty often. And he said, what's the scariest thing you ever did, and would you do it all over again if you had the chance? And so I told the story about how I started doing this work right here full-time, 100% of the time, back in October 2006. I gave up a job that was comfortable and decided to follow my heart and my passion. And here we are 14 years later, and I'm still following my heart and my passion, believing in myself enough that we could do this. And I just want to instill that feeling in other people. So if my presence here encourages you in any way and inspires you to start your own kind of following your own dream, if I can help you in that, I'm all about that, by the way. So please reach out to me. Yes, they just started selling CBD, says Emily. So Young Living has CBD oil. I guess that's not surprising because they definitely have gotten, it definitely has gotten more popular as of late. Dude, watching you is so much better than watching the news. Well, I don't know about that, but I definitely try to provide a good, happy face. And Abel, you do the same thing. It's one reason I have mad love and respect for your work, man, because you stay positive in the midst of all the craziness that is out there. And it's one reason of all the paleo people, you're one of the ones I always remembered the most. So I was glad we recently reconnected. You guys don't listen to the Fat Burning Man podcast. Go follow it over on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. He had me on recently, Abel did. So I guess it's airing pretty soon. I'll let you guys know, obviously, when it's out there. But we had a good time. I literally recorded right here from the Jimmy Rant studio, so it was a lot of fun. You take people back to reality, says Jill. Well, I'm trying to keep things real because I think when we get headlines like a lot of people are on anti-anxiety medications, and I kind of go, okay, we need to get to why. We can't say that it's just the focal point of COVID-19 that caused them to get there. There's something deeper, and that deeper was already there long before COVID-19 came around. We need better coping strategies to deal with the anxiousness, the sleeplessness, the depression that people deal with. This was an epidemic that was already happening long before COVID-19, and all this is doing is exposing what was already there. Let's see if there's anything else on Instagram. Nope. You guys are all talked out. Well, guys, that's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website, as always. You want to go follow me over on Instagram, because that's where the fun begins. I am on Instagram at LivinLowCarbMan, LivinLowCarbman. We also simulcast over on my Facebook page, so thank you to my Facebookers as well. We go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Sometimes we'll throw in a 5 p.m. Yesterday I was going to do a 5 p.m. and about 4 I'm going, yeah, I'm not feeling it today, so I didn't do one. But maybe I'll do one later today. But yeah, if you missed the live, watch it on replay for up to 24 hours on Instagram. After 24 hours, pop on over to jimmyrants.com. You can see the past episodes, or type in a keyword Jimmy Rants over on YouTube. You will find the show. Once again, remind you, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Today, I will be on the Keto Connect YouTube channel. They're going to do a YouTube Live with me. I'll be doing it from right here at Jimmy Rant Studios, so definitely tune in at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you missed the live, definitely watch the replay later as well. So guys, that's it for now. Until next time, we'll see you then.